It's like iCarly in 5, 4, 3, 2. I know.
I know. You see, somehow the world will change for me and be so wonderful.
And with that,
welcome back to the Fifth Wheel podcast. My name is Hannah.
And I'm Sydney.
And today we're going to be talking about the Las Vegas Grand Prix.
Yep. Whoop whoop. Episode 2.
Episode 2.
We did it.
We did.
That was crispy.
That was very crispy.
I enjoyed that.
We actually had a very good response to episode 1. I feel like for our first one, I feel like we did a good job. And we got a lot of views on YouTube, and a lot of friends and family listened. So
shout out to my mom and dad who put it on Facebook, sent it out to like all of my dad's buddies.
My mom, Misty, was like, I would prefer if there weren't so many cuss words, but it was good.
I feel like we did pretty good.
I know. I was like, there was only maybe 2 in there.
It was probably about the tire compounds, but it was necessary.
It was fuck your compounds, 100%.
But it was necessary. Anyways, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. So yeah, Vegas Grand Prix. If there are no more questions, let's get into it.
Questions?
If there are no further questions.
Anything from the gallery?
But does anybody have any questions?
Anything?
No, so sorry we can't hear you. We're going to move on. So let's start with our recent news. There wasn't really a ton here for that, if any, honestly.
Just kind of the aftermath of Brazil rolling into Vegas.
Yeah.
Viva Las Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas. But I basically in my pre-race discussion points, the only thing I really put was just acknowledging that if Lando wants to stay in the running for a World Driver Championship, he has to beat Max by at least 3 points in Vegas to do that. Which
I think that's the big thing going into this race.
I mean, that's really all I have for pre-race discussion is just that, because that's all anyone's talking about anyways. I guess maybe be on the lookout for any loose manhole covers.
God, don't remind me.
I would hope that they would fix that this year.
That was a true tragedy last year. I think my favorite view of it was that one random street camera that caught it, and you just see in like this grainy video just sparks just trailing after this car.
It's like something happened.
Carlos fans, you could hear us crying across the entire world because like the hail.
Yeah, what the hell?
What the hell?
What in the same heck was
and
that?
That's like for him to get a grid penalty for them not welding down a manhole cover.
Anyone that knows me and knew me around that time last year knows that I had a lot to say about this.
Who didn't?
I was so pissed.
We're still mad about it.
I'm still angry.
We're still mad
all the feelings are coming back up. I have not addressed them in my therapy sessions yet, so maybe I should get to that. But yeah, let's hope that they fix that.
I feel like the outcome of this year maybe at least fixed it a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. There's not that I know any manhole covers that happened in this race.
Yeah,
but
they didn't, just completely obliterate the bottom of an F1 car.
Oh yeah, and then there was exactly. So Vegas has kind of gotten their act together on that.
On that front, at least.
Yeah. Well, anyways, let's move on to guys on the gram. So we've got a couple from this week. We have 2 slides, and one of them is entirely dedicated to Oscar Piastri.
It was so necessary. Necessary.
It's perfect. So on the left, as you can see here, we have him in an Alpine. A tractor. But yeah, he seemed really proud of this. This was like an entire post dedicated to him driving this tractor.
It was a fever dream of a post because it was like him, who I'm assuming owned the farm or said tractor, and Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear. Yeah,
it was like the most random group of people, and
I sure did watch him attempt to back in this tractor for like 3 minutes, and poor sweet angel baby Oscar just did not do well.
He did not,
and it's just like his little smile. He's so proud of himself sitting up in that Alpine.
I know.
Look at him.
That's baby girl. That's my baby girl. Next, we have a fan group in front of his pit lane.
That's it.
Yeah, this was also posted
Oscar's
by
not
Oscar. No,
but like he posted it.
He posted this and he tagged them. I just thought this was hilarious because they look really concerned, but that's kind of their thing.
That is kind of their
That
thing.
is their
But like
thing.
honestly, I would too.
It just shows Oscar's sense of humor in this photo, which I appreciate. And then the final one is actually the cover slide of this group of photos that he had, and that is him.
It's just a blown up picture of his face warped
in
along the Las Vegas sphere.
And it's arguably lower quality than the sphere would have had that picture.
Itself, yes. Yeah. Because we saw with like just all of the images that they put on the sphere the whole weekend, like it's high quality, which I would hope so considering what they spent on it.
Oh yeah, it's like someone intentionally edited it to be
but it was
less good.
Just the range of which Oscar Piastri hit us on social media this week was just, we were fed.
Oh yeah.
Oscar fans everywhere should be so content. I mean, it was fantastic.
Oscar fans rise up. And that includes my husband Parker, who showed me a thirst trap of Oscar Piastri the other day. He saved it for me, not because he thought I would like it, but because he liked it.
And he like could have texted it to you, could have sent it to you on TikTok. No, like save to phone in photos. This is my favorite TikTok.
Oh yeah, and for those wondering, it's the edit of Oscar with Diet Pepsi by Addison Rae.
Yeah.
And Parker just loved it. So
he thought it was so funny.
He did.
And I
did too, to be fair. But more so because of Parker's reaction to it.
It was fantastic.
It was fantastic. So Oscar fans, rise up. And that includes my husband.
Yes.
Next, we just have a couple extras. On the left here, we have new rookie on the grid.
Soda Bean,
Franco Colapinto with a goat.
That's it. Good old Soda Bean.
Yeah.
Which, if you haven't put it together, Colapinto, Soda Bean.
Yep.
I wish I could take credit for that, but that was my coworker Matt.
Also in this photo thread was him feeding this goat with a bottle.
Yeah.
We don't have any context though as to why
and I don't think
or where the goat is. So no, I don't think we need it.
More questions than we have answers. But
yeah. And it's just iconic of him. So
it really is.
And then finally we have the Ferrari boys at the Gladiator 2 premiere with Paul Mescal. And
not pictured Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, not pictured Pedro Pascal as well. This one was for the girls.
Don't ask me how long I looked at all of these pictures, all of the video. Like, absurd.
I'm staring at it now. I'm like...
I mean, the one that really got me, I think it was Pedro Pascal and Charles were both just, like, looking lovingly at Carlos. And it's like, same. Like, same. I, too, would look at him with just this look of pure adoration and love. Yeah. Because how could you not? It's the eighth wonder of the world, Carlos Sainz.
Oh, it is. Yeah, 100%. I love it. It was just great. There's a lot of good content that came from that red carpet, too. Yeah, there's, I don't know if y'all have seen, but there's this guy on TikTok that has been impersonating Carlos. And he does a terrifyingly good job. And he came to the red carpet and interviewed Carlos. If you closed your eyes and listened to this interview, you would not know who was talking.
It was scary how just simple, like the inflection and just everything about it was just spot on.
Oh yeah, and then he even asked Carlos like, "Hey, how was my impression?" And Carlos was like, "It was good." Like, but he didn't. There was a layer of disconnect there. I don't think he was willing to accept that it sounded exactly the same. Maybe
he's like, "Is this man me?"
Yeah, he's like, he was probably like, "Do I really sound like that?"
We sent Carlos into like an existential crisis.
Oh yeah, he was probably like, "Do I really sound like that?"
And he does.
He does.
He does.
He in fact does sound like that.
But we love him for it.
We love him for it. All right, so
some good content.
On to the Grand Prix itself. Let's start with the track.
You mean the upside down pig?
Upside down pig. Yeah. There's actually pictures of it from the sky. I'm sure many people have seen it in the airplane. Pink. And it's lit up. It's like it's a pig.
Anytime I see it, I just start singing Spider Pig from the Simpsons movie in my brain, and that is all I can see with this track.
Oh yeah, and so we have 2 DRS zones on this pig, on across its back and on its lovely little tummy. Just going across here. Some of there's not really much else to say on the track. It's a very
the longest
new track.
straight on the calendar.
Yep.
Lots of, I mean, 2 big old DRS zones. Like and it was one of those, like, I remember last year, everything leading up to it was like, this race is going to be terrible. This track is bad. And then last year's Vegas race was somehow one of the best of the season.
Oh yeah.
And it was a pretty solid race again this year.
It was. I agree. It's the track itself, the speed at which they can get to on these straights is just astonishing. They're getting up to like 220 miles per hour, and I don't know how that translates into kilometers because I'm not British. So if
cargo fast.
That is all that we have to say about it.
I will just forever be thankful that in that little graphic where they give us the speed, they give it kilometers per hour.
And then miles per hour for us dumb Americans.
It's like the whole Celsius and Fahrenheit thing. Like, Celsius is for science, Fahrenheit is for people.
Yes.
Because, like, coffee, it's 13. I'm like, huh? And make fun of us all you want. But Celsius is for science, Fahrenheit is for people, and it makes sense. No, I mean, the cars go fast. I mean, and then basically to stop on a dime.
I think that the high-speed straights, along with the challenging turns that it has, makes it for a very good track just in general.
Yeah.
And as long as all of the manhole covers are soldered to the ground appropriately, then we should be fine.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on to qualifying. So, and practice, I guess. I did want to say the ghost of Logan Sargent really is alive and well and currently haunting his old car because Colapinto got into a major crash in FP3. I actually have some notes on this. The crash was at 50 Gs.
Yeah, they made him go to the hospital.
And for context, the maximum drop speed in an F1 race, like at the biggest slowdown that you can possibly get in an F1 car, is 6.1 Gs.
Yeah.
And so for him hitting a wall at 50 Gs is a bit concerning. But they said he was clear to race, and he did.
Because he got out of the car.
He did. I think he might be slightly concussed.
Probably.
But they said, you know what? Let the man drive. Give him his keys. Why not?
What's the worst that could happen?
Surely nothing bad could happen from that, right? And then also from qualifying, I put another, hey, what's a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas?
For real.
Pierre Gasly, P3 start.
He sure did put that damn tractor on P3. Yeah. And it was honestly really impressive to watch because it was just all of a sudden he was there. And it was like, Pierre? In the Alpine?
Hello?
Huh?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Pierre. Ever since Brazil with the Alpine P2, P3 finish, I think that has inspired a new confidence in Pierre. And
I think he got some of his old, Pierre's a solid driver, and I think people forget that. I forget it. I think when you're, the Alpine, they've come a long way since the beginning of the season, but, that car's not great.
No, not in the slightest.
But, clearly, between track, driver, he found it. He found the sweet spot, and he put that sucker on P3.
He did. He really did. So after quali, this is the order in which we have the starting grid. I apologize for this graphic. This was the only decent looking one I could find, but the way that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 really confused me at first. And it did Sydney as well. I'm not stupid, but
I am stupid.
Maybe we both are.
I am stupid.
I am stupid.
I turned off the car.
But so we have George Russell P1, Carlos P2, Gasly P3, Leclerc P4, and Verstappen P5. And then oddly enough, we have Yuki starting in 7th as well. So that was kind of cool. Nico starting in 9th, although I feel like there have been quite a few races where
Haas has been, they've been pretty consistently, at least one or both of them making Q3. So it didn't surprise me. I think the surprises here were definitely Yuki and Pierre.
Agreed.
And then the rest of and then Checo.
Oh yeah, Checo starting 16th.
Another Q1 exit.
Man, I have a lot of feelings on Checo as a driver.
Oh yeah.
As a person, I'm sure he's a fine dude.
He must sell a lot of t-shirts.
He sells that man. When I tell you, gets in those sponsorships. That man is making.
What was the new one? Isn't it Kit Kat?
Yes. It's Kit Kat.
It's so absurd.
My goodness.
I can't remember. It was either before Vegas or after Vegas. Red Bull scored 109 points. Guess how many of those are Checo's?
1?
9.
Ah.
Max Verstappen has scored 100 of their 109 points post summer break.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Sarcastically, I think.
Well, and then the other, I think I saw it. It was either before or after Brazil. If Max was his own team, he'd still be third or fourth in the constructors' championship right now.
Yep.
On his own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Checo's just
there.
He
can't catch a break, but he's also not doing himself any favors.
He's not. And don't get me wrong. I know the car isn't as good as it was last year. However, Max is still performing as he's performing, and they're in basically the same car.
And I'm sure there's the argument. Well, it's Max, but also you're in a Red Bull.
No, you're in a Red Bull.
The Red Bull bad is still better than half of the grid.
He should at least.
He should be scoring points consistently.
He should be scoring points.
He should have more than 9 points post summer break.
Yes, he should have at least double digits. But unfortunately, we cannot get there.
No, buddy, you're on the 22nd race of the season, and have what to show for it?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Anyway, there's our daily episode dose of just Checo slander.
I know. Oh my goodness. I could talk about it all day. But anyways, let's get to the race, shall we?
I think overall, it was a pretty solid race. I don't think we had any safety cars. You didn't have any big crashes. You did have, one DNF, but you had a lot of overtakes. I looked at, there were 77 overtakes.
Seriously?
Yes.
That's a lot.
So that was the thing. That was the other thing about Vegas. It gave, I think last year's race was 80 some odd overtakes, and this year you've got 77. It's a track that is just great for you've got the straights right into the corners, but yeah, 77 overtakes.
That's pretty good.
It was I looked up some notes on it, and it was Hamilton passes Sonoda passes Joe. It was just every other bullet was somebody passing somebody. Mm-hmm. And it was, there was a lot, while yes, there weren't necessarily all right, big crash, safety car, crazy, weird, I don't know, events. Anomaly. You had a lot of overtaking. Yes. And there was a lot of tire strategy. Because I think it was supposed to be a one-stop race.
Yep. And for most it
ended up being 2, and for some 3.
Yep.
Ooh. Yeah, because I think it was just because it was so much colder this year than it was at last year's race. It's the desert. It gets dumb cold at night.
Yeah.
But oh my god.
Yeah. So I guess we should start at the beginning. Oscar Piastri got a starting infringement. Yeah. False start. I think he got a 5. Yeah, taking a 5-second penalty. I think he served it on one of his pit stops. Yeah, probably.
Not a big deal.
Yeah. So if we start with after lap 1, Lance Stroll no longer has a radio for the entire race.
I didn't know that until so far, after the race, that. So I looked it up. Yeah. I think something was wrong with it. Mm-hmm. And so they were like, hey, push these buttons and fix it. After that, nothing. That man's radio was dead. It's not like you ever need to communicate with your race engineer.
No, that's not important.
Not important. Hey, you should come in, or I'm going to come in to the pits earlier. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So Lance, because we just mentioned it, the tires were degrading a whole lot faster than I think anybody envisioned happening. And which honestly, unfortunately, I will give Lance a small compliment. He was like, okay, I need to come in earlier. They don't know I need to come in because they can't hear me.
No.
And so he starts repeatedly hitting the pit confirm button, hoping that they'll see that and that the mechanics will be like, "Oh, pit confirm, let go change tire." No.
Did that happen? No.
He had like a 20-second.
But does it happen?
No.
But does it happen?
No.
Oh, sorry. Needed to get out that Chapel reference.
So he comes into the pits. There's nobody out there.
There's no one waiting for him.
Because he's not supposed to come in.
No.
And then they're like, oh shit, grabbing tires. Like, it's that meme in SpongeBob where he's like, where's what Mr. Krabs, and it's just everything's blurry and running around him.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yeah, like 20 seconds later, he's got new tires. But yeah, no, homie just couldn't communicate with anybody for the entirety of the race.
No,
Which, for that to happen to almost anyone else, I would feel bad for. But for it to happen to Lance Stroll,
I don't feel bad. I think it's hilarious.
Just the funniest thing that could have happened.
I think it's absolutely hilarious.
No, it is.
Because, I mean, I personally don't really like to hear his voice all that often.
You don't?
You mean I don't like to hear Lance Stroll's voice? Sorry for any Lance Stroll fans out there. Actually, I'm not sorry. His voice is incredibly annoying, and I say that as someone with an annoying voice. So, yeah, I think going for an entire race without having to hear, I'm having a problem with this. I'm having a problem with that. My daddy bought me this car.
You sound like Squidward.
He sounds like Squidward. Tell me I'm wrong.
Maybe a little bit.
He has one of the most nasal voices I've ever heard, and he's so smug about it. So I really didn't mind. I thought it was hilarious. So
I mean, it is.
Builds character.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But anyway, yeah, so yeah, you have Lance Stroll not being able to communicate with his engineers, and then
I think
poor Pierre.
Poor Pierre. Oh, yeah.
Poor Pierre, because I think it maybe like 10, 15 laps in.
Not far.
So this man's at the top of the world. He put that tractor on P3, and then he's on it. He's doing pretty well. I think he lost a couple places at the start, if I remember.
But he was still in the top 5, I think,
like,
or something.
Very much in the points. Like, homie was doing good. And then all of a sudden, you hear him on the radio go, I have no power.
No power. I have no power. He was actually very frantic about it.
He was. And his engineers were like,
everything's fine. His team goes, we are seeing no problems at the moment.
Camera cuts to smoke just coming out of the engine. Car. And you hear the commentators go, whoop, that's a blown engine.
Yep.
And so it's like, nobody really knows what happens. His engine just basically shits itself. And so that probably would have been a safety car, but it was like, luckily where it happened, he was just able to come into the pit. Well, naturally the little engineers do their little science stuff. And come to find out, he was getting a tow from Yuki, which is a good thing. Tows are great because it's almost like getting DRS without having DRS. Mm-hmm. The tow he got from Yuki was so strong. This man's car was going so fast that it quite literally blew his engine. I found this graphic on Twitter, and it was like this line where it's like normal DRS power, and then it was like a significant gap, the line where like the power that he got from Yuki's tow, and it's like Yuki's like his car went so fast, it was like, nope, we're done.
Yeah. Well,
like, what in the world?
I do want to say, speaking of Yuki and, like you said, shitting itself, at some point during this race, Yuki is coming out of the pit lane. He just plows into one of the pit lane sides.
I think somebody else was next to him and he was trying to get out before, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter.
I don't think that's an excuse to hit a sign.
Completely just, obliterates the speed limit sign. Catches air.
Yeah.
Catches air. Mm-hmm. And then carries on his merry little way. Like, just skipping along the yellow brick road. Like, he's chilling. And then I think it was an interview after the race with Will Buxton and Jenson Button. And Will asks him, he was like, yeah, so you got some air? He was like, wow, what were you feeling? Yuki quite literally goes, I shit my pants. and if you know, Will Buxton, I don't think I have ever seen speechless. This man goes, and just like looks at Yuki and just like, they were like little girl, like fits of giggles. It was hilarious. It was the most Yuki, just, I shit my pants.
That's such a Yuki thing to happen, too. I mean, and, he started in P7, too. Like, there's always something interesting happening with Yuki in every race. Yeah. It's not always good, but it's always interesting.
And it's like, he just is, I love Yuki.
I do, too.
He's so chaotic.
He has such bad anger issues.
Run a restaurant.
He wants to have a restaurant. He's mad that he's not making food.
That's my favorite. One of my favorite just interview clips ever is them asking everyone, like, if you weren't an or what's your dream?
And I want to be a world champion.
I want to be world champion. To be world champion.
And then Yuki,
I want to own a restaurant.
Yep. He's got his priorities straight.
I bet he tore up some Cooking Mama.
Oh, I bet he tore up some Cooking Mama. I love Cooking Mama.
It's so stressful.
It's so good.
No, it's so good.
It's not stressful.
Are you kidding me? When you were running out of time, like cooking all your little recipes?
Well, if you're good at the game, you're not running out of time.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, some people are just naturally gifted at Cooking Mama, so that's all I can say.
Okay, well, we don't have any way to prove it.
I mean, we do. I have Cooking Mama.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
Me and Sydney will be playing Cooking Mama after this, and
we'll report back with our stats.
Yep. Okay, so what else happened here? Let's see.
Oh yeah, Mercedes. Can we talk about Mercedes?
Yeah, Mercedes. It's something about cold weather, and Mercedes is like, you know what? I think it's time to shine here.
Mm-hmm. They're like, our core.
Sorry.
Also, apologize. Not really. Actually, I'm not sorry for the way that our brains are braining right now. We both just no sleep good.
No sleep good.
And you're getting delirious brain.
Yeah. I didn't sleep well for the past week. So
that's fine. We're here. It makes for interesting, maybe not good, but interesting content.
It does. Yeah, I think
it could be both, but it's definitely interesting.
It's interesting. Doesn't mean it's good.
Well,
to us, we are hilarious.
I mean, we are.
We are. Yeah. And if you don't get it, then you don't get it.
And if you don't think so, just lie to us.
Yeah, just lie. Because we can't handle criticism.
No, I'll cry.
I cannot handle. I will cry.
I cry. But yeah, so Mercedes. Back to our little stupid good in the cold. Because it was one of the races earlier in the season where it was like the same thing. It was a cooler race, and they just kind of popped off.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of the same here. I mean, so spoiler, not spoiler alert. You had Max wins. No, Max doesn't win. I lie.
No, George wins.
George wins.
Max was in like 5th.
It's because he won the drivers.
Yeah.
I know word good.
Yeah, you're doing so good right now.
I'm really not.
Yeah, so the winner of the Vegas Grand Prix is George Russell.
It was a Mercedes one too.
Yes.
Yep, George.
Lewis. You almost forgot his name for a minute. And then Carlos.
Did you see the gears?
Yeah, you were like, George.
In the slight moment of panic.
Lewis. Yeah, but no, for some reason, whenever the weather's cold, Mercedes tends to thrive. Don't know what that's about, but it's happened a few other times.
So I mean, it was fun to see. I mean, it's been a long time. It's been a while since you saw a Mercedes one too. I would have preferred Lewis have been on the top of the podium. That's just my personal opinion. But
I feel like George earned it though.
He did. I mean, George had a really good race.
Yeah, he did. Oh.
Hi, Toasty boy.
We have our official commentator here, Toast.
For those listening and who can't see, Toast hopped up onto Hannah's lap and is now laying down in mine, and I'm not going to be able to move for the rest of this.
I'm actually kind of pissed that he chose you over me. I'm his mother.
I know, but it's no secret that he loves me.
He does love you. Parker is super jealous of Sydney because Toast, the first time she came over, Toast just curled up on her lap, and it took him like 10 visits for him to even sit on Parker's lap when he first met him. So
what can I say? He knows a good one when he sees it.
He does. Sydney and Toast are besties. They're bros.
We are.
Yeah. So we had George Russell P1, Lewis P2, and Carlos P3. Interesting race for Carlos.
Why's that, Hannah?
There's a lot of reasons for that. So first and foremost, Carlos was told not to overtake Charles. He was actually no, he wasn't. We find out later that he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was only told not to impede Charles or make it hard for him or something.
It was kind of unclear during the race what the team orders were.
But Charles had been told that Carlos was told not to overtake him at all. So Carlos overtakes him.
Yep.
And
it was a pretty damn good move.
It was good. It was good.
It was solid.
Well, another thing. So Carlos actually had a pretty good race despite everything. Mm. And when I say despite everything, I am referring to Ferrari just not giving a shit about him anymore. We always knew.
Yes.
We always knew that Ferrari just did not.
The clown wigs and noses have traveled with the team always and are in a box in a closet somewhere.
Yep.
They found them.
They found him.
They sure did.
Yep.
I don't remember when it was during the race, but yeah, no. Carlos comes in for a pit.
Well, he tells them, he's like, I really need to pit. Yeah. I really need to pit. And they're like, not yet.
No.
And finally, they give him clearance to come pit. And he's like, they're like, okay, you can come in now. And he's like, all right. He is already halfway into the pit lane. And race engineer goes, go back out. Like, don't come in. And Carlos veers right back into the race, and he's like, why? What happened? And he thinks something serious is going on.
Them little clowns weren't ready.
They said, we're not ready.
And it just, it's weird, and maybe it's just, like, the Ferrari fan, like, it was almost comforting. I'm like, oh, there they are. There's the Ferrari clowns.
There they are.
And I'm like, no, that's not the normal. They're supposed to be good team. I just got used to them being clown team.
Hey, yeah, maybe you're supposed to have tires ready and be like, if you tell someone to pit, you're supposed to be ready for them.
They don't have a broken radio to fall back on. Like, they literally, how are you going to tell him to come in after he's been asking and you guys aren't ready?
Oh, yeah.
How are you going to do that to my boy Carlos?
Carlos's response was, oh my God, wake up, guys.
Which was so funny.
I thought it was great. I love when Carlos gets emotional because it's he keeps a cool head for most of the time.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
And when he's wake up, guys. And
wake up, guys.
Which, I mean, is fair because this race is at, 10 p.m. Vegas time?
Oh, yeah. So it started at midnight for us, by the way. Yeah.
But, like, girl was sleepy.
It was rough. I had been drinking coffee into the evening just to keep up for it because I had some friends come over to watch it, and one of those was not Sydney because she didn't want to come to my party. By the way,
no. Sorry, I was gonna go spend time with my family.
Well, anyways, back to Carlos. Another thing. So with this, all of that happens, and then on top of that, Carlos does eventually overtake Charles, and we get some pretty interesting radios from that. So at one point, one of the race engineers tells Charles, like, we told him not to overtake you, which is false also, by the way. We already covered that. And Charles' response to that is, maybe try in Spanish.
Which, unfortunately, or fortunately, is really funny.
It's really funny.
Like, maybe try in Spanish. He said that, and there was a pause when you could tell, like, all of the commentators were like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say after this.
No. Everyone was like, oh.
It was so funny.
Okay. And then on top of that, so at the end of the race, race engineer's like, you finished P4, you did the best you could, you did all you could. Charles has a meltdown, an absolute meltdown on team radio. And
which you don't see very often from Charles.
No. And I'm not talking just like a moment of passion and feeling, like, he is going off. He's like, I try to be respectful and look where it fucking gets me every time. It's not about being a nice driver or whatever. It's about respect.
I mean, like, he full on went like Regina George burn book.
Yes.
Like, boy was going after it.
Oh yeah. His race engineer during this is going, Charles. And he goes, he's still going. He's like, I know I should shut up, but it's just so fucking unfair. Blah, 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 blah. Charles throws a temper tantrum. And don't get me wrong, I love Charles. I think he's great. But when you are Carlos in this situation, your team has been showing you, this is the third to last race that you have with this team, and they are very blatantly disrespecting you and not paying attention to you. And another part of this race, he's trying to talk to the people on the radio, and he's like, hello, guys?
Yes.
Hello? No one answers him.
About that.
Was that this race or the last one?
It doesn't matter. It happened.
They're not even answering him on the radio, right? So when you're Charles at this point, you're gonna have your own race then. Like, there's no loyalty anymore. And why should he give up a race for someone on his team just because it looks better for that guy? It's a race.
Yeah. And I think, you can make the argument that Charles is trying to take Lando in P2 in the drivers' championship, which like I get. I can, there's only a few races left at this point, but like on the same side, like Carlos is down to his last few races in the Ferrari. Like, as much as I want Williams to just completely get their shit together for next year and be a top team, we can only be so delusional. But like, and so it's like, this is, I mean, Carlos is trying to grab those, not guaranteed, but it's just like higher chance at a podium, his higher chance at a win. And like, I don't think I can fault him for that.
And again, this is a race.
Yeah.
It's a
race.
Yes,
it's a team sport, but it's also very much an individual sport.
Yes, that's why there's two separate like awards. There's the drivers' championship and the constructors.
And I think this was just, I think both of them were valid in a lot of their feelings and also got a little wonky in some of them. But it's like, I mean, we've seen time and time again, like when they're in those cars, their adrenaline and their just like emotions are so heightened. Like, I'm not surprised you got a reaction like that. And it does, to us normal folk, like it seems like a bit of an overreaction, which sure, some of it probably is, but like, I can't find it in me to fault Carlos.
No, I can't either. I see absolutely no problems with what Carlos did. I can see why Charles is frustrated. However, I think he's in for a rude awakening when Lewis Hamilton joins Ferrari, is what I'll say. I think it's going to be a big smack in the face of, oh, I'm not the favorite child anymore.
Yeah. I'm very equally excited and like completely petrified of that driver. Like, it's either going to go so well, then Lewis and Charles being teammates, or it's going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And I really am hopeful and think it will be option one.
I think he wants to bite you, by the way.
Can we please not? You've been so good.
You can tell though, right?
I know, he's getting his crazy eyes.
He's got crazy eyes. Anyways, one thing I also wanted to mention is I love Carlos's, despite everything Charles said, Carlos was incredibly respectful.
Yeah.
And actually, I really appreciated the way that he handled the situation, because multiple interviewers asked him after the fact, like, what do you think about what Charles said and all of this? And Carlos said, this is something that me and him have conversations about behind closed doors. I don't discuss. He straight up said, I will not discuss this with the media. And they kept pushing him, and he interrupted and said, no, I'm not talking about this with you.
And I think, like, through everything, like, you saw, I mean, they're fine. Mm-hmm. Like, Charles and Kurt, like, I think that's just the nature of their relationships. Like, even, the handful of times they have gotten heated and because it's happened a handful of times of, like, them just something like that happening where they kind of come after each other. And then they're fine. Yeah. It's C2.
It's the nature of the game.
Like, I think they just have one of those relationships. Like, we only see what's on track and what they give the media.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I think it's the nature of the sport. There's always going to be tiffs. There's always going to be fights and stuff at the end of the day. I mean, most of these guys grew up together.
Yeah.
And so it ends up being fine. But if we want to continue on the theme of pit stop nightmares, we have Esteban Ocon. He pulls in for a pit stop, and there's only one dude there.
He's like trying to reenact the scene in Cars where Guido just liking the Queen's pit stop, and this mechanic's like, all right, I got it. He's like, I am ready to go.
He was so ready.
Unfortunately,
no one else was.
That's not how it works in Formula One.
No.
So you've got this one lone mechanic and Esteban coming in.
Yeah.
And he has to go out for another lap.
Yep.
And just, it was not Alpine's day. It really was not their day. I mean, so he does eventually get his pit stop. And then the next time he comes into the pits, like, there's all the mechanics there, and so it was okay.
That should have happened the first time, though.
It should have.
Yeah.
But it's really funny that it didn't.
Yeah. I know we were shitting on Checo earlier. However, he did have one really good moment in this race. He passed Lawson and Magnussen in one corner. Both of them.
Okay.
That was impressive.
That move was pretty.
It was very pretty.
Because I think it happened at the same corner where Charles overtook him last year.
I believe it was.
But this time, I mean, like, they come in, I mean, and they're 3 wide. Mm-hmm. And most of the time you're 3 wide in Formula One, things go very bad.
Oh, yeah. You can barely fit 3 wide, like, on the track.
And especially a street track. Like, Vegas is not super duper wide. Like,
no.
And if you go wrong, you go into the wall. Like, there is no super long runoff area. Like, there's wall. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that was a super good move. And I will begrudgingly admit that.
Yeah, I'll give credit where credit is due for that. Hey, maybe have you tried doing that for the rest of the season though? Like maybe.
And that's just he just shows these just super brief just glimpses. And I think we kind of talked about it in our last one. Like, you know, he wouldn't be at Red Bull if at one point he wasn't consistently a solid driver.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's like a witch like put a curse on him and stole all of his driving ability.
Yeah, I
ability.
Abilities?
No. You know the thing where you say they talk about it in Ted Lasso where you say a word so many times it doesn't sound like a real word anymore?
Yeah.
That's me with ability right now.
Ability. I mean, to me it still sounds like a word, so anyway. I think we're fine. But yeah, I mean, besides that, I feel like that's all that really happened in this race.
Yeah, so. I mean, it was a somewhat uneventful but eventful. It had my attention. Like it was a good race. I mean, lots of overtake, lots of action, and some super botched pit stops.
Oh yeah. Oh, and there was a lot of really good radio. I have a few quotes here. So one quote from George Russell referring to, I believe it was Bottas. He goes, "Great job from that green thing." Okay,
sidebar. Speaking of that green thing, so you've got your special liveries for Alpine and Stake. And let me so we know Stake is neon green.
Yep.
It looks like it got slimed at the Kids' Choice Awards. But now they've got like these like Guy Fieri-esque like flames on them that are neon green. And then the Alpine is bright pink again.
Yeah, it kind of looks like Force India.
My favorite is somebody photoshopped, instead of Glinda and Elphaba, it is Alpine and Stake on the Wicked poster. And I think
it fits well.
And Stake either posted it or the actual F1 account, and they were like, "This is the content we're going to put out into the world." Mm-hmm. And I think that's for their service.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of the teams have been doing really well in terms of hiring their social media people.
They're doing great.
They're doing a great job.
But yeah, so that green thing.
Great job from that green thing. George Russell says. We also have from Gasly at some point, Sainz is a pain in my ass, man. Don't know what that was about.
Had to be before he DNF.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, yeah,
definitely.
Pour one out.
There was one situation with Yuki as well where they were telling him that I think maybe his tires were okay or something. I can't remember what it was, but he was like, "Yeah, but how do you know? How do you know?" And they're like, "Just trust us. Just trust us." And he's like, "But how do you know?" And they're like, "Okay, then come pit." And then he screams, "No, it's too late! No!" He's just, like, when I say he screamed it into the mic, it was so funny. So there's that. And then I think my favorite quote of the day comes from Nico Hulkenberg. He goes, "Fucking Mercedes at the apex. They were out of the way, but just really visually annoying."
Which is, like, so funny.
Like, what is it?
No reason.
No reason.
Like, this man turns on his radio to like just that is a thought that we could have kept inside our brain.
Mm-hmm. He didn't have to.
But he said no. I'm gonna share this with the class.
I'm gonna give the people what they want.
And I'm so glad that we got that.
I am too.
They didn't do anything wrong.
No, totally not.
Jesus.
So to finish off, obviously Max ended up with the 4th World Championship title. The end of the race was George, Lewis, and Carlos, but with Max finishing above Lando, he ended up winning. Mm-hmm. Naturally, Max was celebrating quite a lot in Vegas, right? We have an interview with George Russell that pops up and says, "Oh, like, did I say George Russell?
You said George Russell.
George Russell. Where are for George Russell? Have you heard George Russell say Jacksonville Jaguars?
Oh my gosh,
Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's that whole interview clip of them trying to say because they were guessing, I think, the mascots
something
for the
like
NFL team or something.
It was bad.
It was.
That's pretty bad.
It's like Esteban trying to say squirrel.
Squirrel. Squirrel. So there's an interview with George Russell, saying, so did you celebrate it all with Max last night, or did you see him out? He said, yeah, actually, I saw him at a bar this morning on my way to the airport at 9 a.m. And the interviewer, Max, starts approaching and goes, Max, is this true? And direct quote, of course it's true. I was very thirsty. And then so they start laughing about that and about how, it was late. And he goes, hey, it was 5 p.m. somewhere. Not 5 o'clock somewhere. It was 5 p.m. somewhere.
Do you think he's aware of that song's existence?
Oh, 100%.
I really hope so.
I'd love to picture him just like listening to that song.
Somewhere. Like,
it'd be hilarious to hear that.
And it has to be the version with Jimmy Buffett.
Oh yeah, it does.
Which is honestly rightfully so. I mean, 4 World Drivers Champions, like, one in itself is, one person out of 20 is going to be world champion.
Oh yeah.
And this was his 4th one in a row. And I looked at her, it was, I think now the only people ahead of him in terms of like amount of drivers championships are Michael Schumacher and Lewis.
Mm-hmm. He's good.
There's a handful of others that have 4. But like, that's it. I mean, like, you could be Max's biggest hater. Like, dude can drive.
Oh yeah. I think especially this season, last season, a lot of people tried to blame it on the car. This season, he had maybe, in my opinion, like maybe the 3rd fastest car on the grid.
Yeah.
Not even the fastest. Like, I think, especially McLaren. McLaren really fine-tuned things this year.
Yes.
And that showed with Lando and Oscar.
Which I saw, I think it might have been either like right after, or if it was, I think it was right after. I think he either got asked or something. I don't know how it came about, but basically got asked of like, Max goes, well, if I'd been in the McLaren, I would have won the championship a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Which, 1, savage. 2, 100% correct. Team. But it's like that guy, he would have done it.
He would have 100%.
You put Max Verstappen in that McLaren this year,
he would have been unstoppable.
It would have been the 23 season all over again.
It would have, right? So I think, especially like finishing out that Brazil race and going into Vegas, we just have seen a lot of
so much momentum.
He has a ton of momentum. I think he is very much deserving of it. I think he's an absolute powerhouse. And ultimately, it's only going to make the sport better. So
yeah, I mean, we truly have been fed this season.
We have. And I honestly, this has been the most amount of different driver race wins that we've had in a season for years.
6 or 7 like different multiple race winners. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's absurd.
It's awesome. This has been an incredibly entertaining season, and I like that. In the beginning, I remember me and Sydney were watching the first race, and Max was like 47 seconds ahead in P1, and we were like, all right, 2023 all over again.
And we prepared ourselves for that.
We did, and it was such a
treat. Remember I was talking with one of my coworker, Matt, about it at work the other day, of like, I have never been so glad to have been so wrong at how a season was going to go.
Yeah.
Because I was like, all right, it's going to be a, 23 season 2.0. Let's go for 2025. Yeah. And I am so sad that the season is almost over.
I know. And there's only 2 races left, or 3?
2. Qatar and Abu Dhabi.
Yep. There's only 2 races left. Even though Max has won the championship, there's still a lot to happen.
I mean, the constructors is not decided.
It's not.
I mean, it is. I think I'm pretty confident in saying, like, Red Bull's going to get 3rd.
Yeah.
It's McLaren or Ferrari.
Yeah.
I think I said in the last episode, like, I think it's a little bit of my delusional Ferrari hope, but like, I think if they can get it right, I think Ferrari can pull out the drivers, or the drivers. No.
Constructors.
I did that. Words are so hard.
They're really hard.
But yeah, it is my hope. I think Ferrari can still pull out the Constructors' Championship.
I think
if not, if they don't win, I think they barely lose.
I agree. I think that they're going to close that gap a decent amount. They have been doing good recently, so we'll see on that. But
I'm excited. I'm excited to see how the rest of the season plays out.
I am too. And with that brings us to our Diva of the Day. We once again have one and then another honorable mention here.
Yeah.
So our Diva of the Day rightfully so, I feel, is Charles for his Regina George blow up moment on the radio at the end there. Yeah, I mean, that was just the biggest diva move I've ever seen.
I mean, it really was. Have you tried in Spanish?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's gonna go down in like Radio Message Hall of Fame.
Oh, 100%. And when me and Sydney were talking about this before filming about the whole diva of the day thing that we do, and a lot of times the diva of the day we feel is just someone who like slayed or someone like iconic behavior. This was an actual diva moment.
You don't see that side of Charles very often.
No, and you don't see many people throw temper tantrums like that, but he did, and we love him for it. And then our honorable mention is this track marshal that just started breaking it down on the side of the track before the race.
If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and look it up, because track marshal was just putting it down.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm gonna blow the picture up, but you can see he is like hands on the ground.
I mean, he was slaying.
He was slaying.
He or she. I don't know if it was a she.
I think it was a man.
I think it was a man too.
But a woman could have done that too. A woman can do anything. But we can do it. Rosie the Riveter.
I got Toast on a lap again.
Oh yeah, I know. Toast is being sweet to Sydney. He really He's still mad at me.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and with that, I believe that is.
I mean, that's Vegas.
That's Vegas, baby.
Yeah, the last Continental US race. I mean, it was good. That was a fun time.
It was a fun time. All right, well, with that,
we got Qatar next.
It's
the last sprint of the season.
Yes.
Last sprint weekend.
I'm excited about that.
I mean, it'll be pretty good. I mean, depending on what happens, I mean, McLaren can secure constructors.
Or they could not. Foreshadowing. Boom, boom, boom.
Tune in next time. If you watch the race, you'll know what happens. Or you can find out from us.
Yeah.
However you choose to get your media.
I'm pretty sure the majority of people that watch this, at least so far, so early on, know nothing about Formula One.
Probably
so
not.
You'll probably hear it from us.
More than likely.
More than likely, you'll hear it from us. But
all right. Toast, any closing thoughts? Riveting stuff.
Riveting. I don't know if we can put that online. That's kind of controversial.
What, Toast? Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All right, can you say that again with less expletives?
Okay, we're cutting him off. Great. He needs to stop. Yeah, that's too much.
Oof, you gotta wash your...
He's gonna get canceled if we leave him on here. So, anyways, we will see y'all next time for Qatar, and thanks for watching.
Live, laugh, love, F1.
It's lights out, and away we go.
Amen.
Amen, brother. All right.